Hello and welcome to Qatar 365, the inside track on the most exciting stories from Doha and beyond with me, Miranda Atty. Coming up, we visit a smart city, check out FIFA World Cup stadiums, and talk to one of Qatar's most famous architects, Ibrahim Aljayeda. I'm standing in Qatar Foundation's ceremonial court, an open-air space created by award-winning Japanese artist Arata Isazaki. The design draws inspiration from Qatar's landscape. It's inspired by the past and looks ahead to the future, something we can see throughout the country's architecture. Let's take a closer look. Hundreds of interlocking discs fit together in the shape of the desert rose, a natural mineral structure formed in wet sand. This is Qatar's National Museum, inspired by the environment from which it rises. Many world-renowned architects have been influenced by what they've seen here. Jean Nouvel created the National Museum. The late, great I.M. Pei designed the Museum of Islamic Art. And the National Library was designed by Rem Koolhaas.
Resources are moved more towards building museums, building cultural centers, building educational facilities and research facilities. But at the same time, although you have this overarching concept, but you give each architect, he or she, his freedom to create.
Education City, a place of learning. And it's also celebrated for its architecture. Traditional Islamic architecture and culture weave their way across the campus.
All of the buildings inside the campus have principles and concepts respecting the environment, taking from the culture, taking from the tradition, and taking from Islamic architecture principles from around the world.
Architecture here is a bridge between cultures. The buildings straddle east and west, past and present.
Architecture tells a story. It tells a story of a nation, of people, of society. It tells a story of the journey of a nation through time, so it links the history, the present, and the future of the nation itself.
Renowned Qatari architect Ibrahim Aljayeda is responsible for some of the most iconic buildings in Doha and internationally, including this one. This was a fully functioning rescue and fire station. It's now been repurposed as a contemporary art studio. I sat down with him earlier to discuss the future of architecture in Qatar.
Qatar has, since I would say the early 90s, there has been a great comeback into sort of defining our culture, not only as a past, but also as an identity to continue into the future. And we've seen this happening not only in the restoration of the older buildings, but we've seen it happening even in our new contemporary architecture. It's the best way of reflecting our identity from the past, taking the qualities of the past, but not making the past as something that will hinder you from growing or going and venturing into the future.
You've designed so many iconic buildings, both here in Doha and internationally, but is there one that means the most to you?
The buildings that will make most impact to me, I guess the stadium would, because it does not only reflect the scale of what we have done, but being part of a success of your nation is something that you would keep for the rest of your life with you. I got called for a design competition to compete on Al Thamama Stadium. The competition called in for the headgear, the gahfiyya, but did not define, kept the imagination for the architects. After going to the old souk and looking for all the sort of gahfiyyas available and the designs and the patterns, we created our own pattern that will make sense architecturally. yet it reflects the Qahfiyya as it is.
And what's the legacy you'd like to leave behind for future generations?
The legacy would be, again, understand your culture, your background, but use that as qualities, but take off into the most contemporary approaches, use the latest technologies and the materials. With that, and just by simply being sensitive to the environment around you, you would literally keep your aesthetics, your identity into a modern Qatar.
When Qatar won the bid to host the FIFA World Cup in 2022, there was a lot of prep to be done. The country needed 8 stadiums, each with the capacity to hold at least 40,000 spectators. The architectural designs had to be smart, flexible, and with soaring desert temperatures, eco-cooling technology was a must. Scheherazade Ghafour has more.
The FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 stadiums, each with its own innovative and unique design. Ibrahim Aljayeda's Al Thumama Stadium will feature 50,000 square meters of green spaces. Another is constructed using modified shipping containers.
This is a very unique opportunity where we are building 7 new stadiums, one that's going to be demountable. We're refurbishing an 8th so that it can be used for the World Cup. There's never going to be a time where we have such a detailed sustainability strategy that covers so much of the work that we do.
Like the work on the stadium resembling a traditional Arab tent with 40,000 square meters of green spaces. 28,000 seats will be donated around the world after the matches. I'm in the city of Al Wakra in front of Al Janoub Stadium, which was designed by the late Zaha Hadid. She was inspired by the sails of the traditional dhow boat, which you can see behind me with its aerodynamic shape. Walking around this grand space, you realize the architect's legacy will live on through her creation.
It was very important for us not to overbuild or overcompensate. Some of our stadiums have, for example, retractable roofs, and what that allows to do is when you can close a roof, it allows you to cool faster, so you don't need as much energy to keep the stadium cool.
All the designs are influenced by the country's rich environment, history, and culture.
This stadium is known as the Diamond in the Desert. Also, it's the first stadium to receive 5-star global sustainability assessment systems. 85% of the material has been imported regionally. 25% of the material is recycled material. LED lighting all over the stadium, sustainable water and irrigation systems.
Qatar's futuristic city of Lusail will boast the tournament's biggest venue, featuring traditional lantern and bowl designs. Then travel back into Doha, where you will stumble upon the rambling Aspire Zone. Not only home to the refurbished Khalifa Stadium, but the statuesque Torch Hotel, Aspire Dome and Academy, training grounds for the country's future football stars.
Qatar is leading the way when it comes to smart cities. Mushreeb, where we are now, is the world's first sustainable downtown regeneration project, a modern adaptation of Doha's old commercial district. But how does this design use technology to become a new model for urban living with full home automation, smart transportation and green ecosystems? Every inch of Mushreeb has been created with sustainability in mind. There are more than 5,000 solar panels on these roofs. The streets are designed to shade pedestrians from the sun. And plants and trees thrive in desert conditions. A decade in the making, this is a reimagining of the old downtown district.
I still remember the old alleys and the old small streets and the old houses in this area. And now when I come and I bring my children, I always tell them, you know, how this area was and important for Qatar. And there's a lot of history here.
A battery-operated tram stops at all major locations. Well, that's definitely a great way to see this smart city. But there's still one other place I want to go. Let's visit Baharat Square. heart of Mushreeb. Look at this design. It's the largest covered square in the Middle East with the biggest retractable roof in the region. Engineers have also developed a special cooling technology to ensure temperatures remain pleasant even in the hottest summer months. Urban living meets traditional motifs. Every line and shape has been constructed to showcase light and space.
You saw me, you met me, I was taking photos. I want to show these photos to my brother. He's an architect, he works in Canada. I'm impressed with the design.
It's made up of 31 hectares of land and more than 100 buildings, including museums, hotels, restaurants, theatres, malls, and Doha Design District. Mushreeb's Sheikha Al Sulayti believes the city and its design district will position the country as a creative hub for the region.
There's a lot to say architecturally and design-wise about Mushreeb. Every element of the city has been designed. For me, I've been working on this project for over a decade, and still when I walk down the streets, I always find, a new detail to admire.
And it's these details that sets Mushreeb apart, and in the process, creates a new architectural language. It's been incredible to see the different ways in which the environment acts as the inspiration for Qatar's architecture. And that's all we have time for on this episode. But if you have any questions, just reach out via our hashtag Qatar365. Thanks for watching. Please do check out euronews.com for more and join us again next time on Qatar365.